يضيق خلقك. الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك. هدي وارتاح ثابر واطمح من حقك، بس بلاش العين. لا 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 ما تسوى الدنيا تضيق خلقك. الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك. هدي وارتاح ثابر واطمح من حقك، بس بلاش العين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and a very, very warm welcome to the viewers of ITV. My name is Taj Akleka, and it's a privilege to be in your company and in your homes today. Today is a very important narrative that we seek to discuss with a number of high-profile individuals who have been steeped in what they do so beautifully over a number of years. With me, I have Dr. Anwar Nagia, and Dr. Anwar Nagia is obviously linked with this wonderful center called the Al-Kahf Human Rights Center. I also have with me Muhammad Jaffa, who will be speaking a little bit later, and then I also have in studio with me Mike Tippett, who is from the Sports Trust. Straight away, I'm going to be running into Dr. Anwar Nagia. Dr. Nagia, very warm welcome to this wonderful, iconic, unique inaugural program.
Good afternoon, Mulweni. Assalamu alaikum, and really privileged to chat to the viewers of ITV. And thank you for having us.
Dr. Nagia, the Human Rights Center, the Al-Kahf Human Rights Center, and of course, the reason why we're here and doing the interview is because of this beautiful, iconic inaugural human rights cycle race that's taking place in 2020, and we'll get back into that. But what I really want from you, and just for the viewers, is the Human Rights Center a narrative? Why the link between a cycle tour and the Al-Kahf Human Rights Center? Over to you.
So, thank you. Our country has undergone quite a lot of fundamental changes, and one being obviously 94 being quite a highlight in terms of moving from a very rigid and a anti-human rights culture to one of a human rights culture post-94. And we have this issues around transition. So at the start of the Al-Kahf Human Rights Center, the build of the center was to respond to celebrating the heroes and the people who've made a contribution into the lives that we live today. Albeit very difficult, albeit hard and tough at the times, but for the most, it celebrates in a very softer tone the celebration of the contribution that people have done. So the Al-Kahf Human Rights Center was built to respond to that. And one of the features that we identify with the Human Rights Cycle Tour was that it embraces all of the fundamental principles of change and human rights cultures, which we felt was quite fortuitous. Now, the center has a number of floors that responds to various stuff, and it's too long to go on television to explain, but for the most part, it responds to all the violations of human rights as they exist today and capacitate communities and people that are still victims of those things. One of the things we've adopted in the center was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the United Nations. So it's a document which is neutral. It's not a sectarian document that represents either the Christian community or the Jewish community or the Muslim community. It just represents mankind. And the fortuitous nature of this race of the Human Rights Cycle Tour is a direct response to all of the heroines and heroes that died as a result of giving us the peace and change that we have. So for every cycler which we urge to be part of this race, all of those cyclists will remember a person or a community or a hero that has passed on in his 75-kilometer journey, which he's going to be doing. So it's not only just to complete the journey and to have that on his clef stick, but it is to ride in memory of those that have gone and whose shoulders we stand on. So as a broad brushstroke, that's what the Human Rights Center responds to. So we have a library, we have a church, we have a synagogue, we have a mosque, and we have other lecture theatres that all complements the notion of human rights. So when Muhammad, particularly Muhammad's skills, Muhammad Jaffa, in big events in the city and probably in the country, works with the Human Rights Centre on the library and other skills, the fortuitous nature of the cycle tour was one that we could respond to immediately.
Wonderful. Dr. Naga, thank you very much. I'm going to be shifting off to a young man, Mike Tippett. Welcome to the show. But Mike, in our a prelude to this, you mentioned that Madiba and the late Steve Chwetti spoke to the effect that every kid in the country should have the ability, facility, and opportunity to play sport. Now, the Sports Trust is linked to this from a logistical point of view. You've originated 25 years ago, and you're part of the development cycling program, etc. A fitness man yourself too. You're looking absolutely great. 29th of March 2020 is a big year, and speak to us about it. And I think inspire the viewers. I think
absolutely, and I think the date, the 29th of March, is going to be etched in many young people's minds going forward from here. I know specifically from the Sports Trust point of view and the development program that the Sports Trust is involved in, the cycling program here in the Western Cape, it is very much an event that the young cyclists will take part in. I think if we go back to 1994, when we look at when the Sports Trust was formed, and as you rightfully said, it was at the request and at the inspiration of our late Steve Chwetti then and our great father Madiba. And so the Sports Trust was then formed, and it's in partnership with private enterprise and government. So it's a collaboration. We work very much hand in hand with private and government enterprise and government. And the Sports Trust is not a sponsor. The Sports Trust is an implementer, a facilitator, and a partner to projects throughout the country. I think if we look back to 2005, the development cycling program was started in the Western Cape, and that was at the request and partnership of Nedbank. Nedbank, who've always been had a high profile in what was then the August cycle race, really felt that it was time to make a footprint here in the Western Cape, and so decided that a cycling component had to be initiated here in the Western Cape. And if I think back from 2005 until now, we had possibly 2,500 young cyclists go through the program. We've possibly given out about 1,200 bicycles. And over the years, we've seen considerable success and development of characters. And if we look at the footprint that the cycling program has, it's very much in the Cape Flats region. It's out in the Boerland region, in the Doorns, which we know is a very volatile an area at the moment that really needs some intervention. And the cycling program is certainly doing offering amazing opportunities for the young cyclists. And then, of course, up the West Coast, we've got two areas there, one being Saldanha. We've got a school and program going there, as well as the Piketberg school that we're involved in there. So the Sports Trust is spread pretty widely across the Western Cape. And it was also identified about 4 years ago that, cycling is just not about putting bums on saddles. It's more about creating a lifestyle. It's more about ongoing, not just 3 months of the year. Bikes come out of the mothballs, and the kids will now cycle the now called cycle tour. And so it was about 2014 we looked at taking cycling to the communities. And so every 6 to 8 weeks, the Sports Trust, in partnership with schools and various communities across the Western Cape, hold community cycle races. And these are sanctioned both by Western Province Cycling Federation as well as Cycling South Africa. And not only are they for the development cyclists, it's an open event. It's an open event to any cyclist right throughout South Africa, in actual fact. And what we've seen in these areas where the program has been, the community starts to buy into the program. The community looks at these activities and saying, but we can do that on our own. We should be doing it on our own. So it's a case of introducing a program in the community, helping the community take ownership of it, and going forward from there. We also use cycling as a vehicle to other activities at the school on the day. So it's not just about cycling. There's a cycling race, but there's soccer, there's netball, there's basketball, there's drum majorettes, there's tennis. There are various other health authorities that we bring in to do medical testing, counseling, and assistance there as well. Cancer Association, for example, are a big partner of ours in our community events as well. And as we know, drugs are a serious problem in our community. So there's counseling on those components there as well. So it's a holistic point of view. And if we look where the cycling program has come today, and if you had said to me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, would we be sitting here today and saying, you know, I have 2 cyclists, young cyclists that joined the Pro Kinetic cycling team earlier this year. We've got about 24 young cyclists that are in the Western Cape cycling squad at the moment. We've got a strong under-17 cycling team that are being coached at the moment. 1 or 2 future champions coming through that squad as well. And it's really an exciting time. So if we look at cycling and we say, why cycling in the Human Rights Cycle Tour, or why cycling being chosen as the vehicle, it fits in perfectly for what the Sports Trust stand for and where we're going to as well. And there was just no doubt, not even a question, when my executive director, Anita Matthews, and I chatted about this, it was, we're on board, we buy into this and fully support the initiative.
Brilliant. Mike, thank you very much. Mohammed Jaffa, young man, chair of the Human Rights Cycle Tour, taking place 29th of March next year. There's lots of fun and there's lots of history to this, the cycle. And I want you to take the viewers through what they can expect, why they need to get involved, etc. And then obviously this is not a one-man show. And what do you need? How do we as a community participate? How do the viewers get into this? And how do we make this not only an inaugural event, but how do we make this an annual event?
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Aklika. As Dr. Anwar Nagia said earlier on, and in fact, Mike Tippett also touched on it. Firstly, we talk about human rights. Human rights, who better than us as South Africans, not only for what we've gone through, but rather if we look forward and we actually celebrate human rights. And how better than to celebrate it through sports? Sports doesn't know any color, it doesn't know any cultural boundaries. Sports is for everybody. And particularly if we look at the growth of cycling in not only in the Western Cape, but in South Africa, we thought that this type of event can basically assist us in achieving 2 things. The one is that we can celebrate human rights through the cycling event, and we'll talk about the route, why we chose the route that we've actually chosen. And the second one is through a fun way, also raising funds for a good cause. And hence, that gave birth to the establishment of the Human Rights Cycle Tour happening on the 29th of March next year. Now, as we know, these type of initiatives and mega events can't just happen out of its own. Firstly, you need a very well-oiled group of people to come together. And may I say here that 95% or 98% of the people on this committee is doing it for a bigger cause and not getting paid for what they are doing. And I think at this juncture, I would want to compliment those people that has come on board. And initially, most of them that got on board started and got involved with me when this was only but a dream. And today, it's actually a reality. And to them, I think the community owe a big thank you to them. Then immediately we go to the sponsors. When we spoke, and Dr. Anwar Nagia and myself went to go and speak to some sponsors, and believe it or not, the 4 people that we went to go and see immediately agree. We talk about independent media being represented by Cape Times, immediately came on board. Then we spoke to Retroactive, who is one of the main sponsors. They came on board, as well as Jive, Busy Corner, and Fairshore Insurance. Then our partners is ITV, Cape Times, as I said earlier on, and Smile Radio. Now, these events that we so proud of, without the support and projection by these media partners, cannot happen. And to them, again, we salute them. Now, already, as I said, the platinum sponsors has all been grabbed up. With one meeting, they were all taken up. We now have an opportunity for those smaller business that wants to get on board as supporting sponsors. Please, they need to come forward and assist and contact us. And then also we have opportunities for product sponsors, people that want to promote the products in the sports arena, and however you feel your product can fit and suit the Human Rights Cycle Tour.
Wonderful.
لا 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 ما تسوى الدنيا تضيق خلقك الحمد لله تافر وضح من حقك بس
Gentlemen, Mohammed, you may or may not answer this question. I see there's prizes for the first, second, and the third place winners, and then of course there's also a fun children's event, the Jelly Bean Cycle, the Dash.
Yeah.
A little bit about that for the listeners. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think Mike actually touched on it. You know, the importance of getting where do we get the flow of cyclists? Where do we get it's those embryos that gets planted at the early age. And hence the reason why we believe that it's so important that we have, as we call it, a junior dash, a Jelly Bean junior dash. And that, I believe, is part of the planting of the seeds at a very young age, and to encourage the youngsters to get involved in this event. And as we speak, we're actually in the process of trying to identify first, second, and third prizes for the winners, and we are also busy with some iconic people in the cycling fraternity to get those people, so that our not only the youngsters, but our cyclists in South Africa in particular can have a one-on-one with these international cyclists.
Well, I want to get it very quickly. I know we're running out of time. The route. I see here the Trojan Horse, I see the Castle of Good Hope, etc., etc. The reason for that and how it was all planned?
That's very important. And the route that we have chosen, it took some persuasion to get the city to buy into the route, but today I can proudly say that the city is behind us. They've approved the route. We're starting on the parade. Let's go back maybe 2 days before that. The registration will take place at the castle, and we know the history of the castle. And then the event starts on the parade, and again, the parade has also got a rich human rights history. Then we get onto the bus lane, just as we pass the Human Rights Center, we get onto the bus lane all the way to the coast in Pardon Island and in Milnerton, and we weave our way through some of the townships, not the townships, but for instance, Big Bay, where we see the beautiful Table Mountain, the backdrop of Table Mountain, and we talk about the Battle of Blouberg. There's another historic event that happened in the history of not only Cape Town, but of South Africa. And then we go through one of the previously busy hubs of Cape Town, the business section of Elsa's River, and we weave our way through to Athlone. And many of the Cape Townians can remember in September, I think it was September 1985, when we had the Trojan Horse killing, where 7 youngsters were brutally murdered. And then we get our way back to town. We go through Lisbeek Parkway, and we talk of the Battle of Lisbeek. And then we weave our way through the Lower Main Road in Cape Town, and I'm sure, if I see a smile on your face, I'm sure you can remember Hartleyvale Stadium. Yes. It was one of the stadiums that we could go to. And there's a place that we passed called the Palace. We used to call it the Palace Bicycle. It's no more. But we weave our way then back to town, and we end up in District 6. And yes, District 6. Today you speak to many people, they still up to the day cry about the history about District 6. And then we finish in front of CPUT, and as we call it, a neutral zone, back to the parade where the festivities will take place.
75 kilometers, this is an iconic event by all means, and I know that we're running out of time, Anwar, but let's just have 2 minutes of wrap-up time. Yourself, what would you like to inspire the viewers with? This is the first of its kind, and the Al-Kahf Center Human Rights Center has taken its rightful space within the confines of this event. Just a few words of inspiration.
Yeah, first of all, again, we have to thank ITV. We have to thank the sponsors, Retro, Independent Media, Jive, the persons that have actually come on board to make this a reality. We want to thank Fairshore, and we want to thank Busy Corner Butchery, and a whole lot of other sponsors that's going to come. So that's the one aspect. The other aspect we want to cover, if you eventually, you'll see this collage.
Yes.
So this collage wraps up the race in terms of the memory. So on this collage, you'll have the Trojan horse, which people of Cape Town can identify with. And you have the Grand Parade, where Madiba made his speech after he's been released. And then you have the issues around different parts of the city where gentrification took place. Woodstock, the gem, the cinemas of the Palace Bioscope, and Salt River, what's taking place around. And of course, fortuitously, we end in District 6, overlooking the center where the interview is taking place. This is the Human Rights Center, where the interviews, and for who this race is going to be the first recipient of. So, inshallah, we just hope everybody join. For us now, join up, get done. Mohammed will give you the details with regard to how you join, what are the internet sites, and what are the ways you can join. We're expecting Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town, and international riders to respond to this,
I think we're expecting
request.
the whole nation and the whole world to be here.
Yes.
Mike, your final words quickly as a wrap-up. We've got 1.5 minutes. We can do this in, I'm sure. Mike.
For the Sports Trust to be sitting at such an iconic event really is a proud moment to sit next to these proud gentlemen that have thought out this event. And through the Sports Trust, we are going to ensure that every single one of the learners that take part, and we will encourage communities around our programs, we will encourage the schools within the programs and their immediate families and parents and the whole communities to take part, but not just to race the 73 kilometers, to actually take it in, and at the end of the event, be able to recollect what they passed, the historical moments they passed, discuss it, understand what it stood for, understand what was fought for in this country for the freedom that there is now today. So the Sports Trust are very excited to be part of this event and cannot wait for the 27th of March.
29th of March.
29th of March.
Mohammed Jaffer, last few words from yourself. You are the chairperson of the Human Rights Cycle Tour, 29th of March, 75 kilometers. It's all yours. How are you going to inspire the viewers?
Well,
and a few details.
Yes. The fact that it's the first event, we are limited by the number of entrants we can take. So we want to encourage people to be part of history in the making. Get your entries in and get your entries in very quickly. We've already got quite a bit of interest, and in fact, we've got over 2,000 entries already. So the numbers are increasing by the day. So we want to encourage people to enter. And we are online. You can go onto www.humanrightscycletour.co.za and you'll find all our information there. Particularly if you want to make contact with our officers, those sponsors that want to get on board, please make contact with us. The email addresses, our contact numbers are all on the website. So make contact with us and become part of this history in the making. And just as a closing note, this event has inspired so many people that we are now inspired to not only make this a Cape Town event, but to make this a national, and then making it an international event, stitching the whole of Africa together.
Wonderful.
Because as we know, historically, Africa was the capital of slavery. And that is what this race is all about, the liberation of mankind.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Jaffer, Chair of the Cycle Tour, Dr. Anwar Nagia, for your time. Thank you so much. And of course, Mike Tippett. We hope everything goes well. And to the viewers of ITV, the 29th of March 2020, and you've got to be part of this, and go online, www.humanrightscycletour. You'll get all the details, and I'm sure that you will enjoy this as an iconic event. And for myself, Taj Aklika, right here from the Al-Kaf Center in Cape Town, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and greetings to everyone. Thank you very much.
لا 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 ما تسوى الدنيا تضيق خلقك الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك هدي وارتاح تابر واطمح من حقك بس بلاش العين طيب خلقك. الحمد لله ما حد بياخذ منك رزقك، هدي وارتاح ثابت